Here we sit, everyone. Another episode of the Acolyte, the Trasholite, in the bag. I know people are going to probably tune out after I said that. Oh, he thinks he's funny. Whatever, tune out. I don't want to talk to you anyways. But honestly, this episode was bad. It was really, really bad. And as you can see, as I said on Twitter, probably the thing that it's really starting to anger me a little bit. We are 3 episodes into a Star Wars show about Jedi and Dark Force users, and not a single lightsaber battle has taken place. We are talking about 120 minutes, roughly 120 minutes of Star Wars focusing on Jedi, and lightsabers have not clashed at all. That is absolutely pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. It really is. Now this episode, which is a bad episode. Look, Chris Gore on Twitter, he says, I wanted to like it, but it's offensively bad, mostly due to writing. Lucasfilm is not attracting the best talent. I don't think anyone blames the actors. It's just a terrible show. And he's not wrong. The show is horrendous. It is bad. We've talked about it. And it's not anything... Look, there's a lot that's wrong with this show. The writing is bad. The dialogue is bad. The production is bad. There is so much about this show that is bad. And you'll see the shills out there. You'll see the people that are just diehard Star Wars fans that just will love anything that has the Star Wars logo on it. And they'll say, well, you're not giving us examples. Guys, just look at the show. That's your example. This show in its entirety is the example. That is your example. Just look at it. Take your blinders off and look at this show. It is so disturbing how bad a show like this is. Now, this episode, which was supposed to be earth-shattering and, going to change the landscape of Star Wars forever, basically, just like the first episode and just like my first 2 episodes review where I said that there was really no originality here. You got two twins who were separated at birth or separated as children, and oh my goodness, how original. Again, there's no originality with this. Conceived by the Force. These children are conceived by the Force. You may look at my thumbnail and think, well, Osha and May, they were conceived by the Force, by somebody manipulating the Force, not by the will of the Force. So that's completely different. They're not trying to be the chosen one here. Look, I get that it is Star Wars lore, that they talked about how Palpatine and Plagueis attempted to create life utilizing the Force. But let's not act like, this is something that was just... something that was easy to do, that they could just easily create life utilizing the Force. Otherwise, it would be done, and we would have seen it multiple times. Like, do you not understand how ridiculous this all is? It is just, it's so absurd and asinine. And not to mention that, when it comes to Star Wars, I'm all for the idea of having different sects of people who utilize the Force in different ways. You don't just need to have the Jedi, the Sith. I'm all for that. That's a great idea that they should explore. We had the witches of Dathomir, which are far cooler and way better witches than these witches are. I mean, this scene here alone, the power of one, the power of two, the power of many, oh my goodness, that was so ridiculous and almost pseudo-sexual in a way around children. I mean, I guess we shouldn't be surprised with how the LGBTQ crowd runs around in the streets nowadays in front of children. It just makes sense. But this scene alone, which is a coven of lesbian witches who they had to make a mention, hey, we are shunned because of who we are. It's not because they're witches, which that's their cover. It's because we're witches, but we know what they're really trying to say. It gets out of hand. It really does. This show just isn't good. And then, the story goes on that Osha wants to run away with the Jedi. The Jedi are good. And May's like, the Jedi are bad. The Jedi are good. The writing is so bad. That's what's bad. The writing is terrible. It's just terrible. The dialogue is terrible. And I don't want to talk bad on these children actors, but they weren't good. They weren't good. And why are you going to get children actors who look wildly different? I'm sorry, like, they don't look alike at all, but then you're going to have the adult versions of these twins played by the same actor, obviously identical. Identical twins when they're grown up, but not identical when they're kids. Come on. Like, the production decisions made were just terrible. Just absolutely terrible. Just dumb, terrible ideas. Just terrible. And then May doesn't want to go with the Jedi. They want to stay with the witches. Okay, that's fine. Osha wants to go with the Jedi. She feels pulled to being a Jedi. Okay, but then they want to try and lie to the Jedi. Osha doesn't want to lie to the Jedi, but Osha decides she wants to go with the Jedi. And what does May say? Well, I'm going to kill you then, because that's a logical thing to do. I don't want you to go with the Jedi. I want us to be together, but I'm going to kill you. Because that is a logical thing. And I don't sit there and try and say, well, she's a kid. She doesn't know. It's not a logical thing for a kid to say, well, I want to be with you. I don't want you to leave me, so I'm going to kill you. That's not a logical thing for a kid to say. It's not. And then she lights on fire a book and puts it down, and it supposedly starts a mountain on fire, which is made of stone. And everything burns down, and the witches, within like a minute and a half, all die from this fire, apparently, which, again, like I've said in the past, this show is just terribly predictable. Painfully predictable. We know that the fire isn't what killed the witches, but the witches are all laying dead on the ground. Obviously not from burns. We see that there's rubble everywhere, not from fire. And everybody's meant to believe, oh, that was from the fire. That was from the fire. No, we know the Jedi were probably manipulated by the witches. One of the Jedi, probably Tobin or whatever his name is, Toby. But he was probably manipulated. And inside joke between me and previous co-host, sorry. Was probably manipulated into fighting the Jedi, which is we've seen previews of the Wookiee Jedi fighting him. And again, it's just so bad. So bad. Oh my goodness. This show just keeps getting worse. It's just bad. It's just bad. It's not even laughable at this point. Like, it's sad. It's sad how bad it is. And again, I'm talking about, yes, I talked a little bit about the lesbian aspects of it, but you pull that out, and it's just bad on its own merits. But when you add in the woke crap, it's just worse. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think of the show? Did you like episode 3? Did you think it was good? Did you think it was bad? I don't know. I thought it was terrible. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Hit it down below. With all that said, I'll catch you all later.